32 songs, died early. Not your typical, I'd never heard the name, but I heard the music. How did you hear about it?
So G.B. Grayson, I like to say, is a ghost. He's somebody that I've heard about for years, but kind of whispers, on the wind almost. And a lot of people mention his name, but they don't know a whole lot about him. And a friend of mine decided to dig into it a little bit and wrote a book on it. And he's actually in the film. And he uncovered stuff that nobody remembered or knew anymore. And being able to read his book said, made me just want to say this needs to be on the film. I mean, this guy, it's an amazing story. He produced this incredible music that is played every day all over the world by the biggest names. I mean, from Dr. Ralph Stanley to Mick Jagger to Bob Dylan. But nobody knows that G.B. Grayson was the first one to write/record this music.
You guys do reenactments. An actor was hired. Can you talk a bit about finding your GB and finding how you wanted to portray him, how you wanted him to look? I think there's something special about that.
Yeah, so like most documentary filmmakers, we involve all our friends in our movies because they work cheap. So actually the fella that is G.B. Grayson in the film is my best friend, Scott Ballard. He had the look. We found him the wardrobe. We found him a period fiddle and a period fiddle case that literally broke on the last day of filming. So we barely, in the last clips, you'll notice instead of carrying it by the handle, he's got it under his arm. So, he did a great job. But one of the things that we heard about GB, he was born and raised in one of the most isolated parts of the United States on the East Coast. And, vehicles were very rare, and people either rode horseback or wagon, being almost fully blind, legally blind. Those weren't options for him. So he walked everywhere. He could see just well enough that he could walk. And kind of thinking of a mechanism, so to speak, to use in the film, we wanted to show that sense of motion. Him, he was so bound and determined to be a musician that he walked everywhere. And so, we tried to portray that, capture that.
I was amazed. We've talked about some of the big-time people who've played his music. His music can be played so many different styles, so many different ways, different types of, whether it's the banjo, guitar. It molds itself so well.
It does.
What was it about his music that just, I think, resonates with people?
It really does. It's Ralph Stanley II told me that if Bill Monroe is the father of bluegrass music, G.B. Grayson is the grandfather, because a lot of his music, that old time music, some of his music was literally hundreds of years old, from ballads that came across the ocean and were still active, still listened to, still played in the Appalachian Mountains long after they disappeared everywhere else. But he also played a lot of modern music that people don't realize. So, Tin Pan Alley and songs from there. Gussie Davis was one African American writer that wrote songs that he played. I think recorded at least 3 of his songs, and it's just music that has beautifully transposed to bluegrass, old time music, country music, and you've even got Mick Jagger recording on one of his solo albums, Handsome Molly. So it's really a music that's timeless. It's rare for a fiddle player to also sing, because fiddle playing is so hard, but G.B. Grayson could do both. And at a time when country music was just getting started in the late 20s, his voice really shines above everybody else at that time. And the tragedy is he died so young. He was on the brink of really going superstardom. He'd made sold several 100,000 albums, and then he's gone. And that's the tragedy of it.
What does it mean to be at a festival that A, loves music documentaries, B, is in the South, where I think the relation to the music is right there on the cusp, but also that champions stories that people may not know or have heard?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun being here at the film festival. I mean, it's just watching so many different and diverse films, seeing how people handle story and shots and, you know, coloring and narration, and it's an education for me. It gives I leave a film festival like this with so many ideas and thoughts, and like, why didn't I think of that? Or we're going to do that on the next film. So it's a total joy to be here.
Can I ask what the next film may be?
So don't tell anybody, but we're in the very early stages of putting a film together on another legendary kind of history mystery called Tom Dooley.
Wow.
Hang down your head, Tom Dooley. Yeah. Poor boy's about to die. Wow. So it's a classic American love triangle, and you know, even to this day, we don't know. He got hung for it, for the murder of Laura Foster, but a lot of people, and there's some evidence that indicates that he didn't do it, that it was one of the other lady that was in the love triangle. So yeah, we're looking to dive deep into that.
In your past life, were you a detective?
I am a self-described history nerd.
That's so cool.
I love a good history mystery.
So I'm curious then, how much did you learn in shooting this will you implore in this next film? The way you shot it, the way you did the interviews. I mean, was there anything that you're going to take from this into that?
Absolutely. I mean, every film that I've done, I guess around 40 documentaries now, all history based on the history of the Appalachian Mountains, and everyone teaches me something new. I love to learn, and I love to get better at my craft, and so each one we try to take the level up a little bit in production, and this is going to be our biggest, baddest one yet.
Kelley, where can people find GB's story, this story? Are you going to go to any more festivals you can announce or anything like that?
So we are going to go to a number of festivals. I think the very next one we show is Bare Bones Film Festival in Muskogee, Oklahoma.
We know that one.
So we're going to be there, and then we're scheduled for a number for the rest of the summer, I believe. But the best place to learn more is our website. We have a really good website. It's called shortlifeoftrouble.com.
Kelley, it was a pleasure. Thank you for unearthing the stories you do, and telling the ones that we do kind of know, but telling it in a new light, and being a voice for that part of the world. I think we're learning more and more because of your work. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity.